Well, that's where it all began, the Miss Universe pageant in Moscow, 2013. It actually, the roots of that, you go back 5 months earlier to Las Vegas, Miss USA pageant, feeder to Miss USA, to Miss Universe. That's where Trump meets these two Russian figures, Aris Agalarov, a Russian billionaire oligarch known as Putin's builder, tight with the Russian president for all the building projects he did for the Kremlin. His son, Emin Agalarov, a wannabe pop star. And then there's a third character who's just delicious.
Characters are kind of unbelievable.
Yeah, Rob Goldstone, the British-born publicist. And it is in Las Vegas where Agalarov comes up with the idea of they'll have Miss Universe in Moscow. He can put up the money for it. They'll have Putin's approval. Trump goes for it, flies to Moscow in November, and he's there ostensibly to promote the Miss Universe pageant, but his real interest is getting a business deal with Aris Agalarov. He'd wanted a project in Moscow for years. Nothing ever came through. But now, for the first time, he had somebody who was tight with Putin, somebody who had an in with the Kremlin. And so this was a real opportunity for him to build this Trump Tower in Moscow, solidify his position as a global oligarch. And in order for that project to work, he was going to need Putin's approval. He knows that, and he spends all his time flattering Putin on Twitter, in public statements, and he's obsessing on meeting Vladimir Putin. In fact, as we describe in the book, his question all during the day he's in Moscow, the day before the Miss Universe, is Putin coming? Have you heard from Putin yet? Has he called yet? And unfortunately for Trump, Putin never actually shows up.
There's a delicious detail, David, about how Trump deals with that in the end.
Well, yes, because he keeps waiting for the call. He keeps waiting for the call, and it's not Putin who calls, it's Dmitry Peskov, who is Putin's chief spokesman, who says, I'm very sorry, the president can't meet with you, but he's a big fan, and come back for the Olympics, maybe I'll have time for you then. And Trump is indeed very devastated or disappointed at the least that this is not going to happen. But he tells one of his colleagues in Miss Universe, in the organization Miss Universe, well, you know what we can do? We can tell people that Putin came. No one will ever know. You know, like he dropped by. We'll just let people know. And this person said they didn't think that was the right idea. But here was, you know, Trump obsessed with this idea of getting together with Putin. And it's also in this time frame, really, if you go back to when he announces in June of 2013 that they will be holding Miss Universe in Moscow in November of 2013, that he starts making a series of positive comments about Vladimir Putin, beginning with a tweet saying, will he become my new BFF, best friend forever? And he does this throughout the fall, leading up into the Miss Universe event. And remember, at this point in time, Putin's reputation as an authoritarian leading a regime in which dissidents and journalists are routinely dispatched with murder is well established. And this is right as the tensions are building up in Ukraine. And even after Ukraine explodes and Putin invades Ukraine, Trump is still out there saying positive things about him because I think it goes to this point. He's not a dummy. He knew that if you take on Putin, if you criticize Putin, you're not going to be able to build a tower in Moscow. He won't let that happen. So I think that was what was driving him, along with this sort of identifying with strong men and wanting to be. He wasn't a global oligarch yet, but I think he wanted to be.